Hey guys, here's my review of crude oil I use two methods, the John Carter squeeze method and Elliott wave. So looking at the longer time frames first, the weekly is trying to recover. It's still in the sell mode technically, histogram coming down on the weekly, sell arrow on the momentum tool coming down on the weekly, price is coming down, but it did bounce off of ATR2, very close to the May low, but got very close to that. Nice bounce, nice move, nice green candle, but the structure of the EMAs is still raggedy. So this is not at all a confirmed uptrend yet. Not at all. In fact, the weekly is still in sell mode. The daily, you can see this trend a little more clearly. It did have a bounce. It's been riding the ATR3 down in a very strong downtrend off of the top over here of 85.41. And now it's bouncing. And the $1 million question is it just done with the correction? Or do we come up and then just get one more shove lower? So one thing I can say about the daily chart is when you come up into the daily mean, which currently is 73.56, $1 above where we are now, that typically acts as resistance. I mean, it can poke its head above it, but usually it'll come back from that. Even if it pokes through it, it'll come back and then regroup and make a second attempt. But it can also hit the daily mean and really get rejected. That can happen. So this is the really big clue for swing traders in crude oil, I think, is what kind of a reaction do we have up here? And I would expect it to get rejected from up there. Okay, and then going down in the time frames, it gets a lot noisier on the lower time frames, but this whole little trend up on the 195-minute chart, you can see what it's doing, right? It got above the mean, came back down, got the ATR1, got above the mean, held the mean all the way up to ATR3, came back to the mean, and now it bounced. So now we're in this little, this little uptrend is continuing off of this low. On the 195-minute chart, you can see it. You go a little lower in the time frame to the 89-minute chart. Now you can really see that trend, and it repaired the fib EMA structure. By the way, on my longer time frames, I use ATR structure. On the shorter time frames, I use fib EMA structure. So on the shorter time frame, you can see that this trend is trying to establish. And at the moment, the 89-minute chart, for the first time in a long time, shows you that price is actually above the fib EMA structure. And this is bullish. And you've got a squeeze here. I can't teach you squeezes in this video, but search the internet for what is the John Carter squeeze method. There's 100 great videos out there on this. So here's a squeeze on the 89-minute chart. Guess what? There's a squeeze on the 39-minute chart, and you can see the stacked EMAs. This is bullish. And the 5-minute chart is really choppy and noisy. This picture here is really this whole region, and this region, and this region. All of that is fitting inside of these two candles, and all of this whole thing is just inside of that one candle right there on the weekly. So you can see how it's good that we look at the whole spectrum just to get a context for where we are. Okay, so even if this is firing to the upside, and it does have the structure, and it did fire. This hasn't fired yet. This hasn't fired yet. So it is likely, the odds are saying that crude is going to get a bit of a bounce here. And then I look at Elliott wave to see where might possible targets be. And again, I can't use this video to teach Elliott wave. This is really just for my journal, but I've been sharing it with a few people lately, so I'm putting it on YouTube. But the idea is if those squeezes fire to the long side, I will not be surprised at all to see price come up into this circle somewhere. And remember how I just showed you the daily mean comes in at 73.55? Well, guess what? There's a fib per this structure, per Elliott wave. There's a fib at 73.55, 1 penny difference. So maybe price, if those squeezes happen, especially on the 89-minute, if those squeezes fire to the long side, I am quite certain price is going to come up into this, at least this fib zone, 73.55, and it can extend too up to 74.67. And I do have a supply demand zone up right at 74.50. So it is possible that this is where a good short could be had. And if this happens, all I do is move over these labels and call it 3, 4, 5. And then the real question Sorry, this video is too long. It's already too long. The real question will be answered upon the next decline. If we make it up to here, and I'm going to move these labels over. If we get a pullback for this wave 4, I'm going to measure it, and it should hold between the 236 and the 382, which, by the way, I'll use the same. I'll just move this up to wherever it tops. See how the 236 fib moves up? So let's say it made it up to there. Then this wave 4 pullback should hold between these two fibs right here. Okay? And if it doesn't, and it keeps going, then it increases the odds dramatically that we're going to get a B wave, which is much more variable. Who knows where that'll bottom, but typically it's going to bottom somewhere down here, somewhere between the 618 and, I mean, sometimes B waves exceed 100. So we'll see about that. But one step at a time, right? One step at a time. So let me put this back to 70. Whoops. Yeah, I'll fix that later. But anyway, there you go. That's my thoughts on LA Wave. And keep an eye, if you have the tool, keep an eye on the 89-minute squeeze. Let me put this back to 73.03, which was the high. And, as long as price can't get above 73.03, then we could still need this wave 4. As long as it can't get above the prior swing high of 73.03, I mean, to me, this looks like a wave 4. It really does look like it's consolidating. And you got the squeeze. So, maybe that was all a wave 4. And now we're going up. And we'll know. If it exceeds all of this, well, yeah, then we're in wave 5. If it can extend, we're not, yeah, there you go. LA Wave is fantastic. Use it with technical indicators, and now you've really got a much better idea of what can happen. So keep an eye on these squeezes right here. Okay, see ya.